Hi everyone, thank you for taking the time to join us today. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared afterwards. Please feel free to use the question box at any time during the webinar. There will be a Q&A session at the end where we'll answer your questions. Should we not get to your questions, we'll email you the answer to make sure that you know what the answer is for your specific question. I'm going to go into the agenda now. We're going to go over the ERP and CMMS, or in other words, the Enterprise Resource Planning and Computerized Maintenance Management Software Integration Overview and Benefits, the keys to successful integration, and how Proteus MMX integrates with various ERP systems like SAP, Infor, Oracle, and more. The presenters today are myself, Barbara van der Walt. I'm the head of marketing, Jacob Mix, the engineering manager, Wasiq Ahmad, our chief technology officer. We're all three working at Eagle Technology. In recent years, integration between different software systems have become a critical requirement. So through integration, data can be shared and exchanged between different software applications in real time to better understand how your business is running. The same logic holds true for CMMS systems. Today, more than ever, automation, precision, and efficiency are the driving forces behind why most forward-looking companies are integrating CMMS systems in their organization. As you can see, the possibilities to integrate with various platforms are endless. But for this webinar, we're going to focus on the integration of enterprise resource planning software and the CMMS system. So we're going to focus right here today. Many of the companies we speak to are trying to opt for a single ERP solution with asset management capabilities built in, with the thought that a single solution would tie in their maintenance activities directly into their ERP. The problem is that large ERP systems have asset managements, and very few companies have the budget or the development resources for these ERP system installations. And I think what's more is that the asset management modules in ERPs tend to have a poor reputation for being clumsy to use. They may tick all the boxes and meet all the feature requirements on paper, but tend to fall short in practice. A lot of people, or let's say a lot of businesses of all sizes, are opting for two standalone applications. One, a more affordable ERP, and then another one is a user-friendly CMMS. So purchase requisitions for spare parts are generated in the CMMS software by maintenance and then processed and fulfilled in the ERP system by the procurement team. But without an integration point between the two systems, the same data must be keyed into both systems twice. An example would be a purchase requisition is entered into a CMMS by the maintenance manager, and then he needs to re-enter it into the ERP system for fulfillment by purchasing. So when the part is ordered through the ERP, the CMMS then needs to be updated manually to reflect the change. This can lead to several issues, including redundancy, time delays, isolated information, and even human error. So delays in getting parts can lead to overstocking of spare parts, tying up much needed capital in the storeroom. That's just a slight overview. I'm going to go into the benefits of it. There are 10 of them, so I'm going to go through them, and then I'm going to hand over to Jacob that he's going to focus on the keys for successful integration. Okay, so the first one I have here is the eliminate redundancy. So integration between the two systems, as mentioned now before, increases the productivity by eliminating the redundancy and the double jobbing associated with two separate systems. The data in one system is automatically synced and updated in the second system, so removing the need to rekey the same data twice. Then we have improving the decision-making process. So the information available in one system can be used to improve the decision-making process of the user in the other system. I'm going to give you an example. So parts usage information in the CMMS can be used to optimize inventory and automatically reorder the levels in the ERP. You're going to understand that a little bit more when we move over to Jacob and Wasik. Number 3 is the invoice all suppliers through one system. So as mentioned, the maintenance department submits purchases through the CMMS and then maps directly to the ERP solution for the processing and fulfillment. Now, this means that all payment transactions happen in one system, whether that's equipment, spare parts, or even raw materials for production. Number 4 is simplify reporting. Pulling the data from each system and trying to reconcile it using Excel sheets can not only be a manual task, error-prone process, but it will also be very time-consuming. The integration would actually help you simplify reporting by syncing the data between the two systems. So a user could run an inventory report in both systems and the data should match up. Number 5 is the accuracy of inventory levels. So if parts are ordered and received through the ERP, the data is automatically synced with the CMMS to ensure that the maintenance and the personnel have real-time visibility on replacement part deliveries. In addition to that, if a maintenance manager has an upcoming preventive maintenance that requires replacement parts, they can actually check part availability in their CMMS and trust that the inventory levels are accurate. Number 6 is increased productivity. Ideally, each job should use the software tools best suited for their needs. Now, a CMMS software is designed specifically for maintenance industries with purpose-built-in interfaces and optimized workflows. The maintenance team manages all activities within their CMMS, which means they don't need to enter the same data into two systems, and you also don't need to cross-train them on how to use an ERP system. Number 7 ties in a little bit like that too, so it's more context. It's the maintenance team works in the one system, so they have the necessary context around what they're supposed to do. So a CMMS remains the hub for the maintenance and all maintenance-related data, given that work orders, scheduled maintenance, and reporting all happens in one system. Now, equally, the ERP is a hub for logistics and procurement that gives context for the activities they do, such as ordering parts for their facility. Number 8 is remove the human influence. There's nothing we can do about this one. Typing errors and absent-mindedness are common mistakes. We all make them. But with a system in place, you don't need to make it. And it might sound trivial, but a simple typo could mean ordering the wrong part through the ERP, leading to extended equipment downtime, missed orders, or even sour business relationships. So as human nature, we do tend to forget things, and getting distracted while reconciling two systems could lead a lot of times to items being overlooked and then having more issues than needed. Number 9 is improved timeliness. Integrating your software can eliminate the time lag between entering the data into a system and taking action in the second system. So if, let's say, inventory requisitions are ready to be processed by the purchasing officer in the ERP system immediately after the maintenance manager enters the request into the CMMS. So there's no lag waiting for the information to be manually extracted from the CMMS and then entered into the ERP. So that just results into faster decision making. Number 10 is the final one that I have for you today, and it's reduce inventory levels. So maintenance personnel do tend to hold excess inventory in the storeroom to eliminate the lead times on fast-moving parts. So that's a standard. A lot of companies do that, but integrating expedites the process times for purchase requisitions, incentivizing maintenance to actually reduce the amount of inventory they have in their storeroom. So those are the 10 benefits I have for you. I am going to hand over to Jacob Mix, our engineering manager, who is going to discuss keys to successful integration now.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, Barbara did a good job there of summarizing a lot of the benefits that come with integration. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to plan for success when creating these integrations between these two software packages. The first thing you'll want to do is sit down and write out and plan a list of all data that you wish to have exchanged between the two systems. This will mean sitting down and taking a look at your primary ERP system, what data you think should be in Proteus MMX as well, whether that's a simple exchange of parts or you want a full-blown system where purchase orders are mirrored between the two. That's all part of the planning process. And you should sit down with all relevant stakeholders and write down everything that you would like to have done and make sure everybody's on the same page, first of all. That gets the ideas out in the open and allows people to talk and decide, yes, I want this here. No, this doesn't need to be here. It'd be redundant, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of that depends upon your operation and how you do things. The next thing you'll want to think about is how often you need the data refreshed. What I mean by that is, do I need a constant 24/7 update between the two systems, or can I do a data dump, let's say at the end of the day, between the two systems? That's going to kind of influence the way we would go forward in encouraging you to create the interface. Another factor to consider is some of the IT security requirements that may be in place within your organization. It's important to get your IT security folks involved and make sure that everything that you're planning to do is within your security matrix and you're not, accidentally violating any rules or procedures in that regard. And the last thing to consider in your initial planning stage would be whether or not you'd like to have two-way communication. In other words, send and receive between both the CMMS and the ERP system. Because that's going to lead into what this slide is representing, which are the two primary methods that we have for doing integrations. The easiest method by far is a periodic flat file exchange. So this would take a file from your ERP system, generated either manually or on a schedule, depending on what the software is capable of doing. And Proteus MMX will, at a timed interval, ingest that information into the CMMS. So for example, let's say that you don't really care about purchase orders. You just want to make sure that the parts are updated between the two, between your purchasing ERP system and Proteus MMX, or you get the idea. You could have a method by which parts data is read from the ERP, transferred to a file, and Proteus, the CMMS, will automatically read that file and update all relevant part information. The second is more powerful. It's called web services. That's what RESTful API is referring to. And this allows real-time communication between the two systems. So let's take the use case that you need full mapping of purchase order information between the CMMS and the ERP system. You could do that with this RESTful API. So anytime something is created in the ERP system, that would automatically be then mirrored within the CMMS. And based on your workflow that you determined in those first initial steps, you can complete the PO, close the PO out in the CMMS, and transfer that closed information back to the ERP system, along with any other relevant data that you'd wish to have. To do this more comprehensive type of integration, you'd need to determine what the capabilities of your ERP software are. For example, do they have their own RESTful API or a web service interface? That is a requirement for this to work. Essentially, the way this would get set up is that we would provide to you all of the possible operations and commands available through our API. And then you would generate an application or a small program to make use of that API and talk to us, to the CMMS. And generally, most programs these days do have that RESTful API or web service capability. So it would just be a matter of configuring that. Could you go to the next slide then, Barbara? Okay, here's a quick example of a ERP in communication with Proteus MMX, the CMMS at this point. We start here in the ERP system, create a new PO. The API will be processing that PO, as well as the parts, PO amendments, and close PO actions. So if you look below here, Proteus MMX, the action is update PO number, quantity on order, to stockroom parts, et cetera, et cetera. And then once that PO is closed, you come up here to the end. It's totally open to your methodology, whether you want to be doing the closing of the PO in the ERP system or you want to do it within the CMMS. It can work either way. And again, once you've planned out what you want to have between the two, then it'll be relatively easy to map the actions that you want to have occur. So I think that's going to end my portion of the demo there. I'll hand it off to Wasik for his portion.
Thank you, Jacob. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Wasik Ahmed. I'm a Chief Technology Officer at Eagle Technology. I'm going to talk about technical side of this integration, mainly RESTful API. Our RESTful API design using Microsoft latest technology, and this API is kind of main integration, main piece between the integration. So we exchange through MMX RESTful API, we exchange data and share data with most corporate systems such as purchasing, ERP, SAP, MES, or accounting. Our RESTful API support two-way communication, as Jacob mentioned, and a secure as well. So it does support two-way communication and secure. Just this is hosted on cloud in Azure environment and could be any cloud. It's not limited to Azure only. Our integration service will save you time, reduce cost, and increase productivity. Our highly flexible and secure system can integrate with existing business system such as inventory, employee, labor, vendor, equipment, transactions. So I'm going to talk about a main integration that we did with purchasing using SAP. So in that project, we did integrate Proteus MMX with SAP system, and that was integration regarding purchase order and inventory. So this slide talk about the flow. As earlier Jacob mentioned that we do support two-way binding. So we send data to SAP, and in other side we can get data from SAP. So this screen talk about the what the flow goes back and forth from CMMS to SAP. So this is typical communication. In some scenario, some customer like to have some data from CMS to to SAP or other system. But in this case, I'm going to describe two-way communication where we send information to SAP and get data from SAP to CMMS. So topic number one, basically what we do, periodically synchronize inventory and vendor record, and then generate purchase requisition in CMMS. Then this requisition send it to SAP. Then on the SAP side, purchasing department, receive the part or any services need to be done using SAP. They do on the SAP side. Then those information sent back to CMS, like vendor information, part, quantity order, and delivery date. Then part are received in CMMS side. Then CMMS send part received info to SAP. Then SAP does invoice matching and close PO on SAP side. Then SAP process payment to the vendor. So this basically the communication from SAP and CMMS side. And that does basically complete the life cycle of this integration. Like I said, in this screen, you see the icon that we use. We did integrate with Oracle. Like I said, already SAP covered. We did integrate with accounting packages, Sun Accounting and other packages. So this is all about integration. And like I said, this RESTful API is the key between this integration. That's all from my side. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Wasik. Thanks, Jacob. If there's any questions you guys want to ask about ERP integration and the CMMS integration, please use the chat box right now to put in those questions. I will read them for the team and then we'll get them answered for you. Here is based on one site integration, what's the typical implementation time? Jacob, Wasik, can either of you please answer that?
Yes.
So depend on requirement, right? So what we do, like as Jacob mentioned, what we gather all information, what field we need to transfer from CMS to other system, or what information we are transferring back from other system to CMS. So what we do, we have a template that does all this is called mapping template. We do map what field in CMS map to other ERP system. So we filled out that requirement, that document, and then we talk to the team on the other side. So based on the team availability, it could be probably couple week to few week, depend on the requirement.
Okay, and then the next question is, it's a question asking, and I think it might be, I think you can just clarify this, is we mentioned it in some of the benefits, but is ERP module better than a CMMS module? Yeah, Jacob, please.
So typically your ERP module is going to have more robust purchasing functionality than the CMMS. However, you're still going to have critical parts data that you're going to want to have updated within the CMMS. And that is usually the main thrust of the integration, is that you're taking parts data as received in the ERP system and then pushing that to Proteus so that you have fully up-to-date parts information, so that you could then go ahead and do work orders, which is of course the primary focus of the CMMS system. So it's an idea, the idea is to keep those parts inventory levels synchronized as you purchase new parts.
Jacob, that's actually a question, and I'm sure if it does tie, and I don't know if it answers this question too, but how is our CMMS different, Proteus MX different from SAP's maintenance module? Is that
Well,
basically the same answer?
probably the biggest thing would be invoicing. We don't do the invoicing. We allow that to go through other systems. So again, the CMMS is a lot more maintenance focused than the ERP system would be. So that invoicing allows you to complete the chain, so to speak. So once those parts get in, you can finish that off and push out the invoices. So I think that's probably one of the main differences, that is that ability.
Okay, we have two more questions here. Our ERP is on-premise. Can we still integrate?
You can with certain stipulations. If it's on-premise, again, you must have that web service capability, and then you must work a little bit closer with your security team to make sure that the communication is, secure from the ERP side. So you can do it, yes.
Okay. One last question I have here. If anybody else has another one, please feel free to add them. So, does the integration have capabilities to carry e-signatures to the QM module in ERP?
We do have some limited e-signature capability. So the example I'll give is, let's say that you need to have an approval to purchase an item above a certain value. That signature that's done in the CMMS will carry over, again, if you wish it to the ERP system.
Okay, so actually we just got another one. Is it possible to export the maintenance information from Proteus to SAP?
I can answer, Jake. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, you can export and yeah, it's possible. Yes.
Okay. So is there any other questions that you would like to ask? I'm going to give another few seconds. We're on the half-hour mark. Please feel free if there's any questions. If there's also any suggestions you would want us to cover in the other areas you want us to cover on CMMS and integration, I'm just going to quickly go up here into one of my first screens. We do have a lot that we can cover. So if there's one of these that you want us to cover too with another webinar, please feel free to put that in the inbox now too. Then we can actually put it on our suggestions. Oh, here's some more questions. So there's actually one saying that did we connect SAP system with ERP? I'm not understanding that question. It's basically, did we connect SAP system with ERP? That's a question. Can you, Jalal, can you please just expand a little bit on that question so that we can assist you with that one? The next one that's here is, what type of IT resources do I need?
Well, it requires, at least a knowledge of what your ERP system is capable of doing. And you must also have the ability to work with the web services of that ERP. So depending on your skill level, your knowledge level, you may need to bring somebody in who is capable of working with that resource and to configure your ERP system to make that connection. And again, I'll go back to the security side of things. You'll need to make sure that you're doing everything right to follow your company's security guidelines.
I just want to add to that note, we actually have a team that a lot of time we work with companies to actually do analysis before we actually start, just to see if it's, is it something you need? What is your goals? So we do have that capabilities. If it's something that you want to learn more about, when it comes to the resources and stuff, we can look at what you have available and just make some suggestions for you. Mobile module of CMMS can also integrate with ERP, or it's asking, can the mobile module of CMMS also integrate with an ERP?
I can answer this. Yes, we do. It's just API, so everything else is integrated. If you integrate with one, yeah, yes.
Okay, so when maintenance in place, can this affect production plan in ERP because the machine is down? So I'm presuming it's when maintenance is actually in so when it's in effect, can it the plan in ERP because the machine is down? That's a question. Did you get that, Jake?
Yeah, I got that. And we would exchange data with the system stating that a work order is in effect on this equipment. The ERP then would be the one who would have to interpret this as, okay, put a hold on this plan. So we can give the ERP whatever data it needs. How the ERP then interprets that is kind of up to the system.
Okay. And we're getting a lot of questions, guys. So here comes the next one. How do you exchange data with ERP, JSON or an XML file?
I think you could take that one.
So it's asking how do we exchange data with an ERP, XML or a JSON file?
I think Wasik might have got disconnected again. I'll go ahead and answer that.
Okay,
we can find out for sure, but I'm 90% sure it is XML.
Yeah, XML, yeah. So they're asking how does that work?
Well, basically, let's say the source is the ERP system. It will communicate with web services over XML, and I think Wasik's trying to connect here, so I might let him explain. Wasik, are you with us again?
Wait, I'm gonna.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
That's what was going on. Yeah, we do use the JSON. Sorry, it's
Oh.
the JSON.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Yeah, so JSON,
Yeah.
and then we use RESTful API.
Okay, because he actually responded to XML is right now obsolete, correct? So that's fine. Okay, so that then, yeah, okay. I'm going to move on to the next one because we're getting there some more. So there's about 3 more questions, and then if there's anything else, we'll get to them by email. We're running out of time here a little bit, but beside of the interface with SAP, what other ERP systems have you interfaced with or have experience in? So I put back the slide with all the logos. Wasik, this is your slide. So do you want to just give name some?
Oracle, SAP, Sun Accounting. These are mainly we have done.
So there's a lot of logos. We've got them. So
Yes.
just to that, we've actually done a lot of integration. So, but SAP, Oracle, and Sun Accounting are actually, I think if I'm talking in the correct, it's the main ones that we usually get requests for.
Yep.
Okay. So then, are you integrating the web services offered by ERP with your RESTful APIs?
So we have RESTful API, and we communicate on the other side. I'm sure they have some services available, and then our service talk to their service, and that's how we integrate.
Okay, and then we have one more question here that I'm gonna ask. Please feel free to ask it any more after that, but I think we're gonna conclude after this question. It's, with PLC, can we have predictive maintenance based on analog variables? Do you want me to repeat it?
No, that's okay. Javier, we might want to get back to you on an email with that one because it's a little bit hard to answer with a single sentence. So why don't we do that if you're okay with that?
Sure.
Jacob, I can reply. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Harshad. This is Harshad.
Yeah, what happens is, Javier, PLCs would accept analog variables and allow you to put limits. Okay, we will receive the limits, and based on that, you can have predictive maintenance event. Predictive maintenance event will create the work orders.
There we go. Okay. There's no more questions right now. Harshad, on that note, is there anything else you would want to add? We still have all our audiences here, and then I am going to conclude this and just thank everybody for their time.
I think it's good interest, and yeah, don't be afraid. Whatever ERP you have, there are ways to do the integration to make your job easier. Okay.
Okay, and then yes, so I'm just getting another question about the webinar and watching it again. So our process is we're going to just make sure that we're going to look at the audio to make sure that it's clear for everybody, and then we're going to put it online, and everybody that's registered, we will be sharing the recording for that. I'm seeing a lot of questions on that one right now. So we will make sure that you get this recording, and it will have the Q&A section in it for you as well. I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. We've had a very good response and a lot of interest in this topic. So feel free to email us if there's another topic, if there's anything else you want to know or have any other questions that you might think of afterwards. We'd be happy to help you. Guys, from Eagle's side, I want to thank Eagle team for your time today. And then I will share the webinar afterwards. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.